A couple days ago, we decided very last minute to do a
Whoa! Before we tell you what our wild last minute decision is, let's get all caught up. We leave the Rocky Mountains and the snow behind us.
Where are we going, Lucas?
We are going to the hot springs.
Yes, hot springs. We just came out of the hot springs and it was very relaxing, very warm, and yeah, just beautiful to sit in and have this gorgeous view behind us. We've made it down further south out of the Rocky Mountains, and finally we're able to do a hike and be outdoors without our big jackets on, and it feels so nice to not be freezing. Yeah, it's still a little chilly. I mean, it's only like 8 degrees, but it feels so nice to feel the sun and to just wear a sweater.
Feels like summer compared to what we had before.
So we just did a hike and it was down this dirt road. On our way back to the main road, we drove over a lot of potholes and we just kept hearing a bang noise, and we stopped. Turns out our roof box on top of our car, two of the straps broke. So yeah, we need to go to the hardware store.
So, just bought new straps and we're gonna put them in now, and hopefully these straps work better than the last ones.
We just stopped on the side of the highway with this gorgeous view behind us, and we're having some hot dogs for dinner. All right, this is home for the night. We are just off the side of the road at a rest stop for the night. A few days ago, we made a last-minute spontaneous decision to head to Vancouver to do our PADI scuba diving certificate. So we spent the last couple of days doing a lot of online reading about the course material, and now we are on our way to Vancouver for our scuba diving class tomorrow. Okay, I want to share my scuba diving experiences with you because it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be, and actually came to be one of my fears I didn't even know existed. So lesson number 1 in the pool session, we have all of our scuba gear on and the instructor says, okay, let's go down. At this point, I haven't breathed underwater before, so this was going to be my first experience being able to breathe underwater. So we go down, and from exhaling, all the bubbles would fly up in my face, and this just made me feel very nervous, just having this flow of bubbles popping at me in the face, and I started to feel pretty panicked. I looked around and everyone else around me seemed very relaxed and chill, and I was internally freaking out at this point. I felt like, I was trying to focus so hard on breathing, even though breathing is such a normal activity that I do every single day. But at this point, it felt a lot harder. Yeah, all I could focus on was these bubbles popping in my face. So when the instructor asked, is everyone okay? He went around, everyone did the okay sign, except me. I did the sign for something's wrong. So I just went up. He did suggest that I tilt my head slightly so that the bubbles don't flow into my headspace, into my mask. They flow on the side. So I tried to do that when we went back down. But I was nervous. I was panicked. It was a new sensation of just breathing underwater and experiencing underwater life. On to day 2, I was feeling incredibly nervous. This time we were moving into the deep end of the swimming pool. I know, so deep. It's like 3 meters. But yeah, I was terrified. I was afraid that I'd be panicked when I'm breathing, and afraid that I wouldn't be able to do all the tasks that we had to do. One of these practical skills was clearing your mask. So in case water starts flooding your mask, you're able to tilt it and breathe out through your nose to push the water out. This task terrified me. We go down to the bottom of the pool and the instructor goes around, everyone clears their mask, and when it comes to me, I try to put some water in mine, but the water goes up my nose and I get a feeling and a panic sensation of, oh, I can't breathe because there's water up my nose and I'm choking on water. And anyways, I immediately ascend to the surface and catch my breath for air. Meanwhile, all my classmates didn't have any problems with this, and that was another thing that really hit me, was because normally I'm a fast learner and I'm always like the first one to catch on to things. So this was a new added pressure on top of feeling anxious and panicked and nervous. I told the instructor I'm feeling nervous for this, and she just said, okay, breathe. It's okay. Just let's go back down to the bottom. I won't ask you to clear your mask. If you're not comfortable with it, you don't have to for now. Just get used to being underwater and staying down. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. At least I can just have time to focus on breathing and get used to this new sensation of breathing underwater. So we go back down to the pool, and then the instructor says, well, she can't speak, but signaling something about my mask, and I was so confused because she just told me I wouldn't have to do this. So I'm like, oh great, like now I'm gonna have to do this. Next thing I know, she grabbed onto my arm and pulled me back up to the surface and said, take off your mask, your nose is bleeding. I had no idea, but yeah, my mask started flooding with blood. I knew there was something in my mask. I thought that it was water. So I took off my mask, got out of the pool, and looked down. My whole body was covered in blood. My goggles were covered in blood. I was plugging my nose. I walked over to where the lifeguards were and they were gonna take care of me there. I plugged my nose for a few minutes and then they said, okay, I think everything's fine now. You can go in the showers and wash off. And as soon as I stood up, immediately again, my nose kept bleeding and like clumps of blood just kept pouring out. And at this point I started to feel a little bit lightheaded. That was a massive nosebleed. I've never had one that bad before, and even the lifeguards actually never seen one that bad before. So it was intense. And yeah, at this moment I felt like crying, but I didn't. I was just feeling defeated from scuba diving. Anyways, I sat the rest of this lesson out. There's so much fear surrounding this activity, and I thought it was going to be fun and super cool, and it wasn't like anything that I anticipated, which made the fear even more powerful. So then there was 5 days in between the third lesson. So Lucas and I went to a swimming pool and took our mask and snorkel with us, and I think we spent a good 3 or 4 hours over 2 days just practicing flooding my mask and clearing it until I got comfortable with it. So moving on to our third lesson in the pool, I'm feeling a little bit more confident because I knew I was going to be asked to clear the mask and I knew that I would be able to do it. We were in the pool and I guess I adjusted my scuba gear wrong because the whole time when we were down at the bottom, I kept rolling to the side. It was just so hard to stay down and stay stationary while we're trying to do different tasks. So that was more of a frustrating moment for me. So that was day 3. So now it was day 4 of the pool session, and because we were going to be doing our open water dive the following weekend, we needed to train for the dry suits that we were going to be wearing. So these suits are watertight, so there's elastic around your neck and around your ankles so that no water can come in, and you wear thermal layers underneath. This is also a pocket of air, so we needed to learn how to maneuver and to control this. This was another problem I had, was the feeling of the suit. For me, it felt so tight on my neck, almost as if someone was choking me. This was a whole new added stress for me, and amplified the fear again I had for scuba diving. So the weekend came, and it was time to do our open water dive. I was extremely nervous, extremely panicked, because now instead of being in a confined, controlled pool, I was going to be out in the open water. It was a lot of stress, but I pushed through and decided, okay, I'm going to do this. So of course we gear up and we put on these wetsuits, and again, the feeling of being suffocated, being choked, being so uncomfortable and constricted. But anyways, we head out to the dive site. We made it down to the bottom, and it was so hard to see. I could see maybe a meter in front of me, and then that was it. There was just so much particles from the sand and the dirt and everything on the bottom of the ocean that was stirred up and floating around, and it was, very challenging to see. So that, of course, made me nervous. So we were down at the bottom of the ocean, and we started to have to do our practical skills, and most of them were going pretty okay. They were more the easier skills, and then the harder ones were yet to come. So day 2 came, and the visibility was even worse than day 1, which I didn't think was possible, but I could only see my hand in front of me. We were doing these tasks where we had to navigate with a compass, and then Lucas went first, and then all of a sudden, my buddy was gone. So that made me feel a little bit anxious. And then I was asked, okay, your time to do the mask clearing, and I couldn't do it. I was, Lucas wasn't by me. I was so scared because I couldn't see anything, and I just was panicked in the first place. So I didn't think that doing a skill I would definitely get panicked for would be good under this situation. So I said no. So the second dive of the day came, and I was told, okay, you're gonna have to do your mask clearing on this dive, but we'll actually get you to do it at the end of the dive, and we'll swim back closer to shore, and again just descend down at a shallower level, and then you can do it there. So this was a huge relief off my shoulders, because I knew that, okay, if anything does go wrong during this, I can just ascend to the surface. Whereas if I had to do it 10 meters deep, I wouldn't be able to just ascend to the surface on one breath. So I was so relieved and thankful that I didn't have to do it in deep water. That just put a lot of anxiety out of the way. So the second dive was more of a fun dive, where we just got used to controlling our BCD, so our device that inflates us and rises and sinks us, and we were swimming around, and that was actually pretty good. You just really had to look at the fin of the person in front of you and make sure you didn't lose it, otherwise you wouldn't see them. Time comes to ascend to the surface and swim back to shore. So then I was told, okay, Mel, it's your time to do the mask clearing, and I was still feeling nervous, but nowhere near as nervous as before. So I go down, I let the water come into my mask, and it's a gush of cold water, which made me lose my breath for a second just from how cold it was. But I put it back on, and I slowly clear my mask, And then after that moment, I knew, okay, I did it, I passed. And yeah, it was definitely a feeling of accomplishment to challenge my fear, especially one that I didn't know existed.